Hello everybody, I'm back with a new video or new stream. I'll draw a little landscape scene for you using a variety of pencils, a smudging tool and an eraser. And so, without further ado, let's go right into it. First, let me draw the frame. And then a horizon line down in the lower third of the frame. For the sky, I use the HB pencil and go all the way from the left to the right across the entire scene, making wide and soft lines, darker at the top and brighter at the bottom, brighter towards the horizon. There we go. Do it once or twice, maybe a third time, to get it as even as possible. Have a nice transition from round about a mid value at the very top to a brighter value down at the horizon. Then take the smudging tool and do the same thing from the left to the right all the way across the scene. Don't stop in the middle. So you don't get edges. And make sure you go all the way across and don't stop short. Do this a couple of times also to get a nice and even distribution of the lead. Okay. Let's have a cloud right there. Using the eraser, making circular lines. Maybe just a small cloud over here and a bigger one right over there. Going to the left. Real big one right here. Big old cloud. Okay. Pick up the residue. Just drop it to the side or in the bin. Should really have one right beside my desk, but I don't. Okay. Then, still using the HB pencil, I draw some very flat U-shapes at the bottom of the cloud for shadows. And somewhat inside the cloud, leaving the upper part bright. That's where the sun touches the most. And to the other cloud, I want to extend it a little bit, Make it look like it really goes outside there. Have another bump that goes up to the left outside of the frame. Okay. Continuing with the shadow. All the way at the bottom. And then inside of this space. Okay, now if the sun comes from the left, we've got shadows on the right side. I have to add this over here as well then. I was going for just shadows at the bottom mostly, right there, but I changed my mind since this is such a huge cloud that goes up in the sky. In order for us to see all those volumes coming out on the side, we need to add some shadows on the side. Just like so. Inverted C shapes that are open to the left. A little bit more over here in this area, since it goes back into the distance. It's turned away from the sun a little bit more than the rest. And then right here, up there, and for this one, right there. Okay. Now let's go into the landscape. Let me even up the horizon a little bit. I think I always drop off to the right, and my lines aren't completely straight. Okay. Still a little lower at the right? I think. So let's get this hopefully even. And hopefully as straight as possible. But don't bother too much. We're just trying to let loose. That's the whole point. Okay. Now get some more lines in there, some more value. This is way darker than the sky. Maybe like this. Okay. Now I want some trees over here. So today I will try this method that I tried before, not indicating the outlines, but just starting right in the middle with all sorts of irregular lines. Trying to indicate the volumes of the trees in here. And right now I'm drawing the shadow part of the trees on the left side. Should have thought about that before, since I said the light comes from the left, and I did that in the clouds already. So now I have to somehow change it and make the light come from the left, so the right side of those trees is darker. So I'm just giving the entire outline, the entire volume of the trees, the HB value now, and then afterwards I will go in and make the right sides of the trees darker. So for now it's all just tiny circles and zigzags, very random in here. I'm trying to make them a little bit darker in some places and a little bit lighter in other places already, to give the indication of three-dimensionality and different volumes going on there. Vary the shapes a little bit for every tree. Some go down more with the foliage. Some are taller. Some are less tall. Tiny one over here. Medium one next to it. Maybe another tiny one right here. The taller one right there. Let's make it really tall. The tallest one of the bunch. Nice and tall. Twice as big as the small ones. And the leaves go down very far for this one. And another one. And another one. Okay, let me now add just some darker spots before I add the shadow, the real shadow areas. This is just some very minor shadows right now. Little bits of shadow in every tree. Very short random lines and spots all over the place. This one's going to have a little bit more. A lot of recessed areas in between the leaves. Okay, now I'm taking the 3B pencil, and at the right side of every tree I make the same irregular pattern that I did with the HB pencil. So the trees have the same structure right there. It's only darker since it's in the shadow. Gotta make the very right side the darkest to make it consistent. Around about like this. Maybe give the lower side a little bit more of a shadow as well. I think just like this. Yes. Like so. Over here. And right there. In here as well. And for the next tree. And the next one. And the next one. Right here. And there. The smaller ones right here. And the big one. Going over here. And for the last one as well. Okay, now let's give them each a trunk. Just a line reaching down to the ground. This one's a little bit thicker for this large tree, and maybe there's a branch visible. Okay. Now the ground below those trees is a little darker. It's in the shadow from the trees. So I just make it a little darker down there. Okay. I also want some buildings in the background. Going back to the HB pencil, I just have maybe a house right here. Just drawing in a rectangle and a smaller rectangle next to it with a triangle on the top, and then there's the roof. Let me make that more clear for you. Make those lines a little darker. Normally I want to make them as light as possible so that I can block in the values afterwards. But you should see what I'm doing. So I'm just indicating the outline of the house. There's a door right there and a window over here and a large window up here and another one right there. 2 windows over here and 1 down there. Alright, now this left side is going to be bright again. So the right side will be darker. Let me just make it dark all the way. And now the windows are even darker. Taking the 3B pencil, I'm not indicating reflections or anything at this point since it's very much in the distance. We can just sort of see inside the house, and since the lights are turned off, it's a little bit darker in there than it's outside. Same thing for these windows. And then the roof. Something like this. Let's say there's another tree over here. Let's make it a very tall one, even taller than over there. The one on the right. Just a very tall tree here. Wait, I wanted a building behind it, and I want to follow the rule of drawing from the background to the foreground. So let's have the building like this. We see the smaller part of it more than the larger part. Should be a little more like this then. Okay, and let's have a big window down here and one up there. And wait. This is the shadow side, so this side is darker. And the windows are darker as well. Got a round window up there, a square window right here, and a rectangular one down here. The other wall is right here. You can barely see the door. From here it appears very thin. A window right here, and maybe another window up here, and the roof like this. Now I can continue drawing the tree. But even following my rule, I should erase what's right behind the tree, so this part of the roof has to go. And then there's the tree right there. Some darker areas again, just with the HB pencil. And a shadow side with the 3B pencil. maybe covering a little bit more of the building. Up here, down there, and a tree trunk right here. A little bit of a shadow. All right. And then let's have another building over there. Maybe this one. Wait, let me make this more visible. Around about like this. This building has another part coming out from the side like this. And we're seeing the wide side again. Maybe like this. So this part is in the shadow. And this part is in the shadow. Let's have a window right here. Maybe the door for this one is in the shorter side, right there. A window right there, and another round window up here. Okay, and then we got the roof. Maybe it goes like this. Let me extend this side a little bit, and then let's give it a wide window on this side. Okay. Now, since this is a little town somewhere in the countryside, I want there to be a church. And for that, I start with a tower right here. And then I don't know if this is called the ship in English as well. In German it's das Kirchenschiff. So let's just call it that. It's the ship of the church going to the right. Should have drawn that in before drawing the trees as well. But oh well, it's what it is. So let's give it a darker tone than those houses. Maybe there's something up at the top, a little cross. The left side is facing the sun. It's a little lighter than the right side. And there are all sorts of arcs in the architecture. We see them from below, so they're in the shadow. Maybe a door in here. And then the right side is going to be even darker. A little roof. And then the side of it right here. Darker than the left side. Okay, and now I'll take the 7B pencil and break it apparently. I'll just take the tip that broke off and indicate the same types of arcs right in here. I hope you can still make those out. Doesn't look like it's visible in the video, but I'm drawing in really dark arcs here on the shadow side. Now, this whole part of the church is in the shadow as well. So I'll just quickly draw that in. Not a lot of features to be made out. This side is even more turned away from the sun, so it's even darker. Let me use this broken 7B lead to make it as dark as possible. And then the 3B pencil for the roof. And since it has an inclination, it is not as dark as the rest. Okay, and there we have our little church. So let's go more into the midground. Just have some structure in the ground here. Okay, and there are just fields up here. So they're separated by grooves in the ground, and those grooves, let me just indicate a couple of them. Maybe one here, and let's have another one. I don't know, maybe right here in the front. Hope you can see those. I think you can. Yes. Those three, okay. So the land goes down into this groove. So this right part is going to be a little bit darker than the part coming up. And also right here we can see some more elevations, very small elevations coming out from the groove. So let me first make this a little darker. And this one as well. Now I have to think a little bit about what I'm doing right here. So this back part right here in front of this groove is a little brighter. And either I could erase a bit or just make the entire space here a little bit darker. And since I'm too lazy to erase it, I'll just make it darker here. And then I'll have to make this darker as well. And then for those grooves right here, I have to make this area even darker. Let's have some structure here also in the field. Maybe we can also see some stuff growing already. Maybe like this and like this. Okay. Couple more over here. Getting smaller towards the distance. I'll just use the HB pencil over there. I think you can just barely make this out. Okay. Let's make this part a little darker. And then just give it some sort of structure down back there. Just a couple of lines to indicate a couple of elevations in the field. For the grooves coming out here in the light side, I first indicate them with a couple of lines. They're closer together in the background and further apart in the foreground. And then just some structure for back there as well. And now I'll make this area a little darker so the top of the groove is touched by the sunlight. Not very accurate right here, but okay. I think this area in the light looks rather accurate in the recording, since you can't make out too many details. Now I think I have to make all of this darker than the groove that is touched by the light. All of this area over here to the right of it. So you can see this going down as it goes towards the left. From here it goes a little bit down into the groove, and this area on the left side of this entire field is a little bit brighter than the rest. So I make all this just a little bit darker. like so. Okay. All right. Now for this one, the part that is lower in my drawing is touched by the light right here, part of this groove. So I'll have it a little bit lighter. Hope you can see this better. Let's make it darker still. I think now you can see the three-dimensionality going down towards this line that I made before. And behind this line, the terrain goes up again. So it's dark right here. And as it goes up, coming out of the groove, it gets lighter. Maybe like this, approximately. I think that's pretty good. So right here in the very foreground, we have to give the land a structure as well. Maybe if I enhance this with the 3B pencil, this other groove is going to be a little bit more visible as well. Don't want to ruin it though. This slight effect that I have going on right here. Maybe that's okay. Now I think in the drawing you can see it as well. But let me try and make this a little bit better, just erasing the very left part, making it brighter over there. Maybe now you see that it goes down right there. Okay. HB pencil for right here, some elevations. And continuing with the 3B pencil, since the contrast has to be higher in the foreground. Okay, now in this middle of the field, let's add some more lines, some more structure, elevations and all sorts of things until it fades in the distance. Now, I'm not going to add every single blade of grass for this entire surface, but I'm going to indicate just some patches of grass growing here and there. I would use the 7B pencil now, since I have to make this really dark. Let's try to just use the broken tip. I think that works as well. Going out of the frame right here. Extending it a little bit down. Maybe some really tall blades of grass or flowers or whatever right here. Over there. Going into the distance where we have to make the squiggly lines lower, so it looks like they are smaller way over there in the distance, a couple of meters away. Same thing for over here, a little bit in the distance. This one up there. Now you can't see what I'm doing. My hand is covering this little bit of lead that I'm holding between my fingers. But if I take my hand away every once in a while, you can see what I did. Let's have some more coming out of this ditch. Give it a couple of longer blades as well. And this one, since it's so much in the foreground. And over here, just some really large blades of grass. Maybe some more over here. Okay. Now there's one more thing I want to do. Just thinking about it a little bit. Yeah, let's go. It's going to add a little bit more of depth to this drawing, since we've created the illusion of depth a little bit by drawing the grass larger in the foreground and smaller in the background. But I'm going to add one more element to this, which is going to be a fence. Where should it be? Maybe right here. So going up there and up here, I'm making some bent lines since the wood is really old and withered. And if it comes down here, the next pole would be maybe right there, just a little bit visible. Sun comes from the left, so the right part is in the shadow, so I'll erase some part to the left of those poles. Right there. And right there. And right there. Now, I'll give it all a very bright value with the HB pencil. Even the light area is not completely bright. Just like so. And now the right part that is in the shadow is going to be darker. Maybe you can see the top of this one. Maybe for this one as well. It has a bright top. And right here as well. So the right side is in the shadow, just like this. And then using the HB pencil, create some lines for the wood. I don't think you can see that. I'm just making some wavy lines down the length of those poles. Can add some darker spots where a branch grew once upon a time when this was a tree. And then taking the 7B lead, I draw a line from the upper part of this pole to this one. And let's say this is barbed wire. So it doesn't have to be straight. It's sort of wobbly. And maybe there are two of them. tangled together up here. This one extends down there. And there's another one at the bottom, or maybe towards the middle. Going over there. It's not visible in front of those blades of grass, but I think you can see it. I'm trying to make it as dark as possible with this 7B LED, like this. And I'm sort of tempted to give it another row of poles, another fence in the background. I think that would really add to the three-dimensionality as well, so let's just do that. Let's just add another one over here. Maybe like this. Those would be closer together. Maybe like so. Now I'll take this fine eraser. I hope this is going to work. Erasing the left part of those poles. Just very thin lines. Getting smaller and smaller towards the distance. Okay. Using the 3B pencil again, I make the shadow side of those poles. Going way back there into the distance. And then another line of barbed wire, just going across like this. All right. I think that's it for this drawing. Gonna clean up the edges again, as always. A bit of the lead is going to remain down there at the bottom right, since I've pressed so hard with the dark pencils. Something's going to remain. Trying to really get rid of that. Shaking the camera really hard. That's mounted to my screen. But yeah, I think you can see just a little bit of gray down there. I'm not getting rid of all of that. But that's what it is. Maybe someday I'll be able to adjust all the values so that I have my drawing inside of a perfect frame, or Maybe I learn to be more patient and just take the time to be more precise. I don't know. For now, this is what I do. And I'm okay with it. Okay, let's knock this rest off. And sign this. Where do I have some space? I think over here at the left side. All right. Gonna be a small signature today, but it's what it is. Thank you for joining me. I hope you were entertained or maybe learned something. Maybe you were inspired. Maybe you drew along. Maybe you've picked a little bit of the technique up that I'm trying to show you here. It's not completely professional, but maybe you learned something from it anyway. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and bye-bye.